Hello, fellas.
Gentlemen, ladies,
We're so back.
here we are
Here we are.
in the Rhodes College Library on the set of the Fallbar baseball show. There were two big signings. There were some little signings made since we last came to you. The Rhodes Lynx are 5-1 since we last came to you.
Yeah, you bet they are.
So we've got some exciting stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about the Eastern divisions for a little bit because spring training is beginning and things are kind of starting to fall into shape. Ryan, let's kick it off with your Mets because the NL East is a pretty good three-horse race at the top, and Pete Alonso will be returning to the Metropolitans
You sure will.
for at least the 2025 season.
Yeah. The Pete Alonso signing was one of those things where it was super exciting as a fan to get that guy back because he's brought so much to the franchise and because he's up there in the ranks for so many of the franchise like statistic leaders, like with home runs and whatnot. So, it's awesome to have the guy back, even after the horrible year he had last year. Well, horrible is probably a stretch, but horrible for
down year.
Horrible for his standards. And, fortunately he ended it in terrific fashion and recaptured, the hearts of all the fans. But the numbers of this contract are fine. It is front loaded a little bit, from my knowledge, but
Short-term deal, too.
it is a short-term deal, so you don't have to pay him this money for too long. He's making a lot more than that of Matt Olson, Christian Walker, those guys. But I don't hate it. Our payroll is still down from last year. So,
Right, which is insane.
right, exactly. So, I don't hate it at all. I wish we would have used some of that cap to go after a starter. But I'm not mad at the deal at all. I feel like it's good to overpay sometimes, especially when you're in a situation like the Mets are, where they're still down payroll from last year and they have room to work. And there wasn't really much on the market, so they decided, why not? Let's go up a little bit, and they sure did. And I like the deal. I think Alonso will be happy with it. I think it's a perfect deal where if he hits 50 home runs this year, then he'll opt out and we'll give him the 33 or whatever he wanted.
Right, he'll get what he wanted.
And if he goes back to the way he was last year, then he'll stay in the deal and he'll have no really motivation to, leave for any mean.
Also, assuming the Mets have success. I think that kind of part of the spot the Mets were in, even after getting Juan Soto, which is fantastic, was that playoff run aside, their roster looked good, but it didn't look great.
Yeah.
And getting Pete Alonso, who's like a bona fide slugger in every essence of the word, back into the middle of your lineup,
Yeah.
just helps lengthen it. It takes some pressure off of Mark Vientos. It takes some pressure off of Nimmo, to where no third guy has to really carry all that weight that maybe wasn't ready to at this point. And Pete Alonso can slide back into being that third guy. So I think it makes one of the Mets lineup one of the better ones in baseball.
Yeah, totally agree.
Rather than having two superstars. And then Vientos was really good last year, but we kind of have to see how the rest of it fills out. But getting Pete back in there is great.
Yeah.
I agree with what you said about the choices of the starting pitching conditions. They seem to be a little bit marginal.
Yeah.
Which, it could work out now that David Stearns is in your front office and he has shown tremendous success with marginal pitching additions. But also, if you're the New York Mets and you're playing against teams that have frontline starting pitching, getting one of those guys, albeit it's too late for that, but getting one of those guys would have been something that at this stage, as we're looking head into the season probably puts you guys over a couple teams, but not having that Burns or Snell or that guy,
Yeah.
I feel like for the outlook of the season is hurting you.
Yeah, and I just pulled up their payroll for the season, and it did just eclipse last year's payroll because Soto's and Alonso's contracts are a little bit front loaded. The Mets are going to be paying a little bit more for these next 3 or 4 seasons.
Right.
And the same goes for a couple of contracts that they'll have. And I think Marte's hitting the market within the next 2
I would
years.
assume so.
I know Jeff McNeil's still on like a relatively big contract, and he's hardly even playing. So, still got guys like that.
Also, but for these 3-4 years, like the Mets are doing it right. They're going to be competitive. They're going to put They're going to put a very good product on the field. They're going to put 2 of the league's best players on the field.
Right. It's not like you have, a lot of vulnerabilities within the players themselves. Like when the Mets had that record-breaking contract in 2020, payroll in 2022, they had 2 40-year-old ex-aces that had a lot of potential downside, and thankfully they don't have anything like that this year. They don't really have anybody who's really injury-prone or anybody who is like, we think they're going to be good, but there's a lot of chance that they fall off a cliff, and I don't see that with really anybody on this roster.
Yeah.
So,
would you, if we were making projections, which we might do at some point close to the regular season, but just for now, like, would you call the Mets to win the NL East this season?
No, honestly, and that's more of a bias of a fan that I don't want to get my hopes up because they tend to disappoint me.
Right.
But the Braves have just done it so right, and they got so screwed over last year in terms of injuries and just the way the season went for them last year. It was so unlucky, and they still managed to make the playoffs. And like the Mets had to kick and scratch to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the Braves, they did too, but it was a lot more just, Riley went down and Albies went down most of the year. Acuna obviously tore his ACL. And then they had like a couple, I think, Strider was down with his UCL. So, I mean,
it was a different group that was kicking and scratching.
Right, exactly. And they were left with Michael Harris and crew,
Jared Kelenic,
and Orlando Arcia, and half of Sean Murphy and half of Travis Darno. It was a super unlucky group that is bound to win 100 games this year. And I can already envision what happened in 2022, where the Mets are up like 3 games going into Atlanta in the second to last series of the year, and they get swept again. Fun fact, I was there, and that was miserable. But anyways,
does sound miserable.
I went to 2 of those 3 games, and I was with all my Braves fans friends, and I was losing it. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this Mets team, and it is so exciting. There's a couple guys that I have question marks about a little bit, and they kind of are at like the back end of the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, will Francisco Alvarez pick up the bat from last year, and will he not have that 2-month injury that he's had for the last 2 seasons? And will Mark Vientos and Jesse Winker still have the success that they had from last year, and will they carry it into this year? And then you look at the other kids. You look at Acuna, who only played like 20 games last year, but when he was in the lineup, he was electric. And I mean, there's just a ton of guys like that. And then you look at the pitching, and you see a lot of upside here. You got Clay Holmes turning into a starter, which could be really awesome because he's really got the mold for it. But it could be really terrible because he's never done it before, and he's 32 almost. And then Peterson was awesome last year, but he kind of relied on a lot of weak contact. So does that, and he got a little bit lucky too. So, does that luck come back to haunt him this year, or does he improve on what was already great? There are so many question marks with the Mets like that I can't say, yes, this team is the one that wins the NL East for so long. But yeah, I'm confident we can outlast the Phillies because one, we just tend to have their number a little bit in the regular season. I feel like we don't really struggle against them head to head. And two, that Phillies lineup is starting to age, I think.
I was going to talk up
And
the Phillies a little bit. Your point about the aging, Schwarber 32, Turner 31, Harper 32, Castellanos 33.
yeah,
They're getting older. They're not bad at this point, but they are getting older, and they don't really have a youth influx for this year. They have Justin Crawford and Aiden Miller, who have both been tossed around in trades, but
Yeah.
like in terms of like a big hitter, like their best signing was Max Kepler.
right,
And
exactly.
Max Kepler, like having Kepler and Marsh, and then Edmundo Sosa, Johan Rojas, like there's something of a platoon there that they can kind of work with. But as their lineup gets older, JT Realmuto's turning 34, I think, before opening day. So as their lineup gets older, they kind of have to prove that they still got it in this window that has warranted one World Series appearance
Yeah.
and no championships.
Yeah.
Their rotation, however, can be brought up as the best in baseball. I
Yeah.
think there's an argument for that.
I totally agree.
Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, Chris Sanchez, and then they traded for Jesus Luzardo.
Yeah.
Those are 5 bona fide, successful starting pitchers with experience. 4 of them have playoff experience. Jesus Luzardo, you were on the Marlins. But like for Jesus Luzardo to be your 5th guy, 96-mile-an-hour lefty,
Yeah.
with a banger curveball.
Yeah.
Their rotation's really good.
Yeah.
I think there's a world where all 3 of these teams get into the playoffs. I think there's a world where all 3 of these teams have 87 or more wins.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to pick a worst one, I would pick the Mets because some of their success is based on things that you kind of have to see to feel if they're repeatable.
Yeah.
A lot of the players on the Phillies kind of had years or have had years in the past where like this is kind of the player that this person is.
Right.
Like Aaron Nola will go out and do his 200 inning decent-ish ERA but throw a bunch of strikes and not let up home runs.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of player he is. Or like Kyle Schwarber will strike out a bunch, walk a bunch, and hit 35 bombs, but that's the type of player that he is.
Yeah.
Is Mark Vientos a 130 WRC plus player, or is he back to a 105 WRC
Right.
plus player? So I think, the Mets they just got Juan Soto. They have an incredible opportunity to build off of their success from last season, but I'm making a little cognizant of the fact that there are things that happen that might not be repeatable, even though if I was calling it now, these 3 teams are probably all postseason teams.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was going to say something and I lost my train of thought. But and I just closed the document. All right. Well,
Mets.
yeah, all 3 of these teams are super good. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I think the NL is a little bit weaker this year in terms of the non-playoff teams. I think are more pushover teams. Like I think it's pretty relatively top
I would
heavy,
agree.
but it's more of like a 50-50 split of the playoff teams are super good and the non-playoff teams are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like I think the Brewers, for example, took a huge step back this offseason. And, I mean, there are some teams in that Central Division that might fight for a spot in the playoffs. Like, I think Cincinnati made great moves this offseason. I think the Cubs have a pretty good outlook on this season, even though they kind of lost a lot and gained a lot. They moved a lot around, but I mean Pittsburgh still can't hit. The Padres took a massive step back this year, and if their pitching doesn't carry them, they are, going to be probably an 82 win team or something like that. So I really think it's going to be a battle between Atlanta, New York, the Dodgers, the Phillies, and there will always be one more team in there that kind of like
Probably
shocks everyone.
Probably the Cubs or the Diamondbacks.
The Cubs or the Diamondbacks were the two.
Get hot in September, and we're like, oh, there you could
Right.
F some S up in the playoffs.
Right, exactly. And then they get swept in the first round.
Or beat the Dodgers in the NLDS.
Right, exactly.
Things like that happen.
Or they can turn into the 2023 Diamondbacks and go all the way to the World Series, which would be really cool if that happened. But yeah, let's transition to Alex Bregman and the Sox, and I'm going to let you.
On March 27th, 2025, at 4 Jersey Street, Boston, Massachusetts, Alex Bregman will be batting third and playing second base for the Boston Red Sox. That's not true. They don't start the season at home, but whenever it happens, he will be there. And he might bat second. But the Red Sox signed Alex Bregman. It's a 3-year contract worth a whopping $120 million, worth $40 million in average annual value, but some of the money is deferred, whatever that means.
All right,
It means that
Dodgers.
it's getting paid out later. So the present value of the contract and the hit that it takes to team payroll is less. It happened with Ohtani. It happened a little bit with Juan Soto. It's kind of the new wave. This is a fat contract for Alex Bregman, but it is for a player that fits some Red Sox team needs as a middle-of-the-order righty bat, a Gold Glove caliber or former Gold Glove caliber infielder that can provide some defensive versatility, and a leader to kind of help wave in this influx of young talent as the Red Sox try and get back into contention. So for all of those reasons, all those boxes that Alex Bregman can check for the club and his relationship with Alex Cora, the team's manager, I see this as a very worthwhile investment. And Bregman can also opt out after each year, but with this high of a price point, I have a hard time believing that he's going to do that. But I like it a lot for the Sox. We were begging for something like this to happen, for a big move to get a big hitter to kind of bolster and balance our lineup at the same time, and this is exactly what that is. And it's not a long-term investment either.
Yeah. The Red Sox are learning that they need to spend money to, get in the playoff picture. And I think they're learning from the Mookie Betts mis-signing, because I heard a lot of fans outraged about that. They're like, oh, we couldn't pay Mookie Betts, but we're paying Bregman $40 a year. Hush. Bregman's awesome. He's younger than you would think. He's not even 31 yet. He's has a ton of time in the league, ton of experience. He's the perfect fit for this team because, yeah, he has plenty of playoff experience. He can play 3 infield positions, most likely. And I think he, just nestles in really well with this core that they have. And the young guys coming up should fit in perfectly. When I'm looking at the Red Sox starting lineup, and I see some flashes of what we were talking about with the Mets, where the top of the lineup is, what you're getting. You know what you're getting out of Duran, Devers, and Bregman, most likely. But the bottom of this lineup, you don't really know what you're getting. And obviously it's going to look a little bit different as the year progresses because you'll have some guys coming out of the minor leagues. But, you don't know if Cedane Rafael is going to be the same player he was last year. You don't know if Trevor Story is going to come back and he's going to play a full 162-game season and actually return to what everybody expected him to be. So, there's a lot of could the Red Sox be a 102 win team or could they be an 88 win team?
Right.
And I don't think a lot of weight is placed on the pitching because they made a huge step up with the pitching.
Yeah,
You're-
that was huge.
Garrett Crochet was a big ad. Walker Buehler was a big ad, especially with him trending upwards at the end of last
Right.
season. He gained a lot of momentum going into this year. Fangraphs has Cutter Crawford as the 6th pitcher right now, which I totally disagree with because he was actually like pretty good last year.
They've been flirting with the idea of using a 6-man rotation just to, I don't know, make sure like the innings loads on guys is a little
Yeah,
lighter, and also we have 6 major league starting pitchers.
yeah.
So to get through the season by doing that, I don't know what the final declaration is going to be. Cutter Crawford is also currently injured to start spring training, so that
okay.
might play a role into it. But yeah, he was solid.
Yeah, I mean, he was solid last year, and Giolito hasn't been himself since 2020 or something like that. So, I mean, I look at this rotation and I see playoffs written all over it.
Yeah.
At least
I agree.
from the rotations perspective. The bullpen is a little bit shaky. It's kind of, well, the main pieces are kind of old.
Yes.
They still have some younger talent, but it's hard to even like not a lot of these guys are really known.
The thing that would take the Red Sox offseason from an A to an A plus is adding a final
Yeah,
substantial bullpen piece.
yeah, exactly. And I don't really know how much of those there are remaining.
David Robertson, if you want to stay in the old department.
Yeah, I mean David Robertson is a walking like 3.5 ERA out of the pen, and he's gonna be solid. Yeah, let me just look up if there's.
Yeah, this Sox team is better than the ones of years past that has missed the playoffs. It's definitely a far cry from the years of that's Bogarts and JD, which it's still a little sad that Fenway Sports Group mismanaged keeping that core together. But we do have a new core coming in. The new core starts with Duran, Devers, and Bregman, and then it'll be added to by Roman Anthony probably at some point this season. Christian Campbell probably at some point this season. Marcelo Mayer maybe late this season or in 2026. He's had a lot of health problems in the minors, so he kind of needs to get some like substantial number of games under his belt. You were right in saying that there are some question marks. Last year, Willie Abreu had an 800 OPS and played Gold Glove right field defense.
Yeah.
He could have a 650 OPS this year.
Right, exactly.
Trevor Story has not been healthy nor hit successfully while a member of the Red Sox. The only thing he's done is play good defense
Yeah.
for the games that he's out there.
Which is fine.
So that could be all you could get. Ceddanne Rafaela, good defense could be all you could get.
Yeah.
So if the lineup 1 to 9 clicks, then this team I think makes the playoffs no problem.
Yeah.
Because of where the rotation is at, and some combination of those 6 guys are going to be able to give you quality innings, especially with Crochet as being kind of the lead dog at the front of it. If the rest of this lineup doesn't click, say Story misses time or Costas misses time or Anthony comes up to try and save him and he struggles because he's 20 years old, then this looks more like an 85, 86 win team.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cautious optimism with the Red Sox, but the feeling is that we're in a much better position now that we have Bregman than the fact that we wouldn't have Bregman because it just kind of makes our depth deeper. And we don't have to rely on guys that we feel a little wary about. We rely on multi-time All-Star, 2-time champion Alex Bregman.
Yeah.
Which I'm great with. I'm good with that.
Do you suspect that there will be some of this new young core in the opening day roster?
People have been flirting the idea of Christian Campbell
I saw that.
more than Roman Anthony on the opening day roster. I personally, I'm not against it, but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would, and this is not about service time manipulation, even though that's kind of where this turns to. Like, if they're ready, bring them up and play them. But Anthony and Campbell both made it to AAA in late August, I think. Like, if we can check this actually, but I think they both only have so many AAA games under their belt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it could be
Anthony, Mayer, Campbell all got to AAA.
Anthony played 35, only 35 games in Worcester. Christian Campbell played 19 games in Worcester.
Yeah, and Marcelo Mayer has not recorded a game in Worcester.
He got called up, but he was hurt, so
Yeah.
he never actually played.
Yeah.
So basically, what that means is that bringing them up for opening day 2025 could be
Yeah.
rushing them.
It definitely could.
We've seen it work for guys, but I think as it Christian Campbell had a WRC plus of 180
Oh.
2024. So maybe he's ready.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would be rushing them. I think if we didn't have Bregman, it would be a little bit of a different story and there would be a little more urgency.
Yeah.
But I think with how the major league talent stands, at least for a month or two,
Yeah.
I think if they can gain some more confidence and get their bearings in AAA,
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's
before
like,
time to send them up, it would be good.
yeah, you have this roster that you've got that we've been talking about. And let's say, Wilyer Abreu hits with that 800 OPS, or, Rafaela and Wong and Story, they're killing it. Like, you have no reason to just plug in these young guys for, whatever reason.
Or if you do plug them in, then it's just another like tool.
Right.
And if you do it in June, then it's basically like having a trade deadline whenever you want.
Well, that's what I was just about to get to is like, say it's it's getting close to the trade deadline, and some of these guys are absolutely killing it, but you really want to get that young core in there because they're also killing it. Then you trade one of these guys, like, I don't know, let's just throw out the name Yoshida for,
Or trade like Will. You're like, this is baseball. You're probably going to need help on the pitching market when
Right.
it comes to the trade deadline
Yeah.
if you're a contending team.
especially when you've got a bullpen like the Red Sox.
Right.
Do.
Everyone's looking for that, but if the Red Sox are in it, they're probably going to be looking for a high-end reliever
Yeah.
in the trade market at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So that could definitely be a route that they take to kind of, because hopefully the goal is that all of the kids play really well, and
Yeah.
then we do have this overcrowdedness in terms of position players.
Right.
But we can't. It's kind of hard to plan for that overcrowdedness without seeing everyone succeed yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there could still be fewer than 9 guys that succeed.
Yeah, I don't think you should see any of Roman Anthony, Marcelo Mayer, or Christian Campbell within the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
But I definitely think by late April, there should be at least one or two of them up there getting their first major league ABs.
I think that's probably the most likely.
Yeah.
Most likely occurrence.
Yep. All right. Let's run through the AL and NL East, and we don't really have to touch on that of like the Marlins that much, but let's look. We already kind of talked about the NL East a little bit. We have like some sort of conversation there, but let's go to the AL East and see what we're looking at. Through these 5 teams, the Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Rays, and Orioles.
I think the Yankees are the best team in the American League going into this year.
Yeah.
Because their rotation is solid. They've got high-end pitchers with Cole, Fried, and Rodon, and then they've got Clark Schmidt. They've got Marcus Stroman, who's being kind of a diva, but they have Luis Heel, who won Rookie of the Year, even though Willie Abreu should have.
Mm-hmm.
And then their lineup in the wake of Soto, which we've referenced a couple times with getting Goldschmidt and getting Bellinger, their lineup has a decent amount of depth. It has enough defensive wherewithal to be okay. There's still a hole at third base, depending on your thoughts on Osvaldo Cabrera. But I think that the Yankees still have probably the best chance to win this division going into the beginning of the season.
Yeah, probably. The Yankees are probably the epitome of the team that we have kind of been hinting on, where they could win 110 games or they could win 40. They
Yeah, it could just not pop.
because like you, I saw a clip. I can't remember the podcast's name, but there is a definite world where Aaron Judge goes down and you're looking at this team and you say, who is their best hitter? Jazz Chisholm? I mean, Cody Bellinger, who hasn't had a good year since his 2022-3 campaign.
It was a little fluky. You don't want Cody Bellinger to be your best hitter.
Yeah, exactly. And Giancarlo Stanton has tennis elbow in somehow both of his elbows already.
And he doesn't even play the field. He doesn't even throw.
He doesn't play the field. He doesn't do anything.
Probably all that pickleball.
And Goldschmidt hasn't looked like himself since he's won the MVP. And Volpe has question marks flying all over the place. And then, you're still relying on Jason Dominguez, who has been the number one overall prospect for 5 years. It's like this team, on the surface, looks super awesome.
Yeah.
But when you really get into what could happen when you're playing 162 games of baseball, there's a lot that can go bad. Fried, we've seen have injuries. Rodon, we've seen have injuries. And then if those two go down, then you're turning to Marcus Stroman, who doesn't even want to play for the team.
Yeah.
Or, you're calling up someone from the minor leagues, or you're bringing up someone from the bullpen, whatever it is. And I'm showing that Jake Cousins and Loaisiga are already injured.
Jake Cousins.
So there's so much that can go wrong here, but there's so much that can go right. Like, there's also a world where Volpe finds his stride finally, and he hits with an 850 OPS, and he plays Gold Glove defense. And there's also a world where Jazz Chisholm loves that short porch, and he hits 35 home runs.
Bellinger, too.
And Bellinger,
totally
exactly.
Could.
And this team could really come together, and, maybe that momentum gets Goldschmidt going. Maybe that momentum gets Wells and Dominguez and Cabrera feeling comfortable in a big market program. And, maybe none of the 5 starters get hurt and they all throw, 200 innings or whatever with a 3.5 ERA. And this team
That team would be super hard to beat.
would be so hard to beat by anybody, especially with their bullpen, because their bullpen is probably the most secure part of this team.
Yeah.
We know,
Now with Devin Williams.
yeah, with Devin Williams being added, like it's pretty much the exact same bullpen as last year, with the best closer in baseball, in my personal opinion.
He kind of looks a little stupid without the beard.
Oh my God, yeah, but
So does Paul Goldschmidt, honestly. That was kind of a funny
yeah,
thing to scroll through on Twitter.
yeah, kind of looks like a dad,
So maybe they're going to have no aura and be bad because their players don't have beards.
right?
And they used to.
But maybe they'll have so much aura because they're hitting the ball out every single swing.
Yeah, Paul Goldschmidt isn't really aura.
Yeah.
Jazz is.
Yeah. If I had to put a win total on this team, how many wins did they have last year? Does it say? 94. 94.
94.
If I had to put a win total on this team this year, I'm putting it at 90. I don't think they win as many games as they did last year.
I'm going to put it at. I'm going to go over 94 because somebody has to do it.
Yeah, but like who besides Judge?
No, I'm saying like a team.
Oh,
Like
oh.
2 weeks ago, we talked about how the Astros and the Rangers were like the best teams of the AL West. They can only win like 92 games.
Yeah.
So I think, like, I don't know, and I guess they were the best team in the league after only winning 94 games. So maybe it's not crazy to say that the best team in the American League will finish the year 92-70.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put them above because, and as we transition here to the team that went 91-71 last year, finished second in the American League East, the Baltimore Orioles kind of don't strike fear into my eyes as much as they have in years past.
Yeah. The only reason I'm going less on the Yankees is because I have a little bit more faith in the Red Sox and the Blue Jays to do a little bit something. I
Yeah.
don't know why I have faith in the Blue Jays, but they're kind of just one of those teams that like
They have a group of baseball players.
Exactly, and they have a group of baseball players who can get them to 500, and that's probably about it. I did not know the Rays won 80 games last year. That won't be happening this year.
Yeah, the Rays are kind of stinky this year.
Yeah. Anyways,
They can pitch a little bit.
sure.
The Orioles, Gunner's great.
Rutschman's awesome.
Adley's awesome, but he didn't hit awesome last year.
No, but he'll be fine.
And then if we go down the lineup, especially with platoons, Ryan O'Hearn only against
Lefties or righties.
righties.
Sorry.
Gary Sanchez is going to get plate appearances for the 2025 Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah.
And then you got Tyler O'Neill, which should be good when he's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that he is. He was awesome for the Red Sox last year. Colton Cowser is solid, but I think he has a low ceiling.
Yep.
We've kind of figured out what Cedric Mullins is now. More of a defense first, lighter hitting center fielder. The X factors here are Jordan Westberg and Jackson Holliday. Those are two guys that could pop and kind of change this outlook for the Orioles, where it's more of a deeper young core than it's looking at right now.
Yeah.
But for now up to this point, it kind of seems like the regular season success that the last two Orioles teams have had is kind of the ceiling of this group.
Yeah.
Especially because the pitching additions have been
Minimal.
They've been Zach Eflin, solid
Morton.
big league starter.
41-year-old Charlie Morton.
And then Tomoyuki Sugano, who has not pitched an inning of Major League Baseball and is already 35.
That's crazy. Yeah. When I look at this team, I get kind of reminded of last year's Diamondbacks, where the young core is really cool, but it's not proven, and where the pitching sucks.
Yeah, and
And-
this pitching sucks way more than the Diamondbacks. Pitching sucks with Gallen and Kelly and
Right,
Bregman.
absolutely. And, the Diamondbacks had more of a bullpen problem as to a starting pitching problem.
yeah,
And the Orioles don't have that. We know
they have a good bullpen.
We know that their bullpen will be solid. And we know that the offense could be elite, but it probably won't be elite. It'll probably be above average. They still have some guys in the minor leagues. They've got Kobe Mayo, and Samuel Basallo, one of the two. And then, Honeycutt will be flying through because he's freaking good.
Yeah, Vance Honeycutt is. And they have Enrique Bradfield.
Yeah.
They have plenty
But he's just
of center field talent.
Cedric Mullins without as much hitting. Anyways,
He's super fast, though.
he's so fast. He's an amazing defender, but he probably needs to figure out the bat a little bit more.
Let's see how he hit.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
maybe you're dogging on him.
Yeah, I might be dogging it on him. I'm just kind of going off my projection. Yeah, actually, he's hitting the ball. He's
113 WRC plus.
all right.
Walk rate 10.7.
How do you do in Double A? Oh wow, better than high.
He can get himself on base.
Yeah, he hit a couple balls out. He can get on third base. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, not gonna change.
Oh my gosh, 74 stolen bags. Oh. Anyways,
the way I feel about the Orioles right now, and I'll pull up. Probably should have done this earlier, but I'm gonna pull up Zips's. If I can get it, Zips's projected standings for these guys.
What is it, Zips?
It's just another projection
Oh, okay.
website or algorithm. And the
Sweet.
what Zips has done, what I've learned is that they kind of don't project extremes.
Yeah.
Like there will be at least one National League team that wins 100 games.
Right.
Their highest, they have the Dodgers at 96 and 66.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
They got the Yankees up top here with 87, but obviously accounting for what they do, that's 90 plus somewhere.
Yeah.
Because they have got from 87 wins to 83 wins. There are like 12 teams here.
Mm-hmm.
But just order wise, they got the Yankees first. They've got the Red Sox next, which I think is I'm in agreement with. And then the Orioles are third at just above 500.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays are at 82 and 80 for them. And then what are the Rays? The Rays are above the Blue Jays at 83 and 79. So they still believe in the Rays. Do we need to check out the Rays for a second?
I think we do. I think we need to talk about them a little bit more because I think we're maybe missing something because they won a decent amount of games last year.
The pitching is...
And they didn't lose or...
McClanahan's coming back.
Oh, we're already transitioning. Wow. All right. That's quick.
I just pulled him up.
Oh, okay. Sounds good to me.
It's easier if we just look at the players.
Yeah, you're so right.
Kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Taj Bradley, Ryan Pepio could figure it out. Drew Rasmussen, I know he's been struggling to come back from injuries, but
he's pretty good when he's on the field, though.
The Rays pitching we've seen it carry them, but I have conflicting thoughts about the quality of this offense to be able to kind of keep up, especially in the AL East where you have the Yankees lineup and the Red Sox new lineup.
Yeah. They got
a
Hassan
team
Kim.
with Vladdy, Bo, and Santander.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, they have Hassan Kim.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Helps him field.
Sure. Might help him hit a little bit, too.
I like Hassan Kim.
Yeah, I think he's a good player.
I think that's a good get. It's not a needle-moving thing.
Yeah.
It's a upgrade in terms of Taylor Walls. And then Junior Caminero could also be insane.
Right. That's what I'm going to look at is the prospects coming up.
This is a Rays team that is not spending to add contributing major league talent. And the teams that did that were the Yankees and the Red Sox. They spent to add major league talent.
Yeah.
And I think those are the teams that are going to be laughing at the end of the regular season.
Yeah. And the Rays had an unfortunate circumstance where they put a $50 million contract on their roof and are putting another however many on renting the Yankees minor league or spring training stadium. So they are spending a lot of money in, their non-players, exactly. Unfortunately, their projected shortstop is Taylor Walls. Now, that will change once Ha-Seong Kim gets in the lineup.
Taylor Walls has done it a little bit. Let's see. Oh, no, never mind.
Yeah, he's projected to have 60. Yeah, there it is.
Taylor Walls has not done it.
Really at all. But what's really looking on the upside for this team is they just had the minor league player of the year in Carson Williams. He was electric last year. He's 21 years old. Xavier Isaac is also 21 years old. I played him in travel ball. He went like 400 feet as a 16-year-old.
He's huge, right?
He is massive. And Braden Taylor, another really good prospect, another infielder. And then Chandler Simpson just broke the minor league record for stolen bases in a season with, I believe it was 104.
Yeah, they got a shot here.
So
maybe not for this year.
You're probably not looking at a great major league crop this year, and you're probably looking somewhere between 70 and 82 wins.
Yeah,
But
this team doesn't move the needle for me.
Right, exactly. But you look 2 years in the future, and you're like, all right, is Kevin Cash still their manager?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin Cash knows what he's doing at the major league level in terms of coaching. And you add Theo Gillen, Chandler Simpson, Braden Taylor, Xavier Isaac, and Carson Williams. and you look at this team who already has a good pitching crop, and with you hope to re-sign Shane McClanahan and
But will
keep Taj
you
Bradley.
for the Rays?
Maybe not, but we'll see. And you throw all these guys in there, and you're looking at a good team. I mean, there are still some decent hitters in here, like Yandy Diaz is a good player, Brandon Lowe, Junior Caminero, Josh Lowe, and even Morel and Jansen will do some positive things offensively. They'll have an above 100 WRC plus. That's what's really positive for this team is they will be fine. They're not going
In
to
the
go
long
out
term.
there and be depressing, but there is a lot of upside in the minor leagues, and that I think is really beneficial. And I think they're gonna get their hopes up starting this spring training with all these minor league guys. So there's that.
Yeah, I think the outlook for the Rays is good, but this year, in terms of keeping up with the talent at the big league level, it's probably just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Let's give a couple minutes to the Rhodes Lynx. 5-1 so far.
Yep.
Unless you want to cover anything in the non D3 baseball world.
Oh, I was just gonna go over the Blue Jays.
Oh yeah. I forgot about the Blue Jays.
Yeah. The Blue Jays are another one of those teams where, honestly, when you look at this team, besides the fact that Nathan Lukes,
Where's Don Varsho? What happened to Don Varsho?
yeah, I'm assuming he's hurt. Yep,
He's hurt.
shoulder surgery,
Yeesh.
rotator cuff. That was on September of last year. So
Maybe he'll be okay.
he'll be all right. Regardless, this team is not that bad.
No.
Like, there is no reason why this team should win under 80 games, realistically.
I agree.
And I think that the whole reason for the Yankees and the Red Sox not winning 100 games is because, honestly, this division is pretty tough. There's no pushover team in this division by any stretch of the imagination. The bottom end of this lineup is pretty mid.
Yeah.
But
it gets thin on us pretty fast here.
yeah. But George Springer will play a solid role. Dang, he's 35? That kind of sucks.
Vladdy's the man.
Vladdy is unbelievable. Santander will hit somewhere between 29 and 42 home runs. Bo Bichette will be solid. Hopefully, he'll be better than last year. I'd have to assume he will be.
People still believe in Bo. I think it's
Yeah.
fine.
Will Wagner was pretty cool when he came up last year. So there's that. Kirk, solid. Jimenez, amazing defense, solid offense. There's a lot of guys here where it's like, all right, this team could be pretty good. Gosman, if he is his normal self, will be awesome.
Yeah.
Jose Barrios will have around a 4 ERA, but strike out a lot of guys.
And that could be fine.
And that could be cool. Bassett is aging, but he'll be okay. Bowden Francis was awesome down the stretch last year. And then Max Scherzer is 41 almost, but he'll be all right.
It's kind of a high floor, low ceiling rotation group.
Yeah.
With there's excitement around Bowden Francis, but I think in terms of the rest of it, and they're not really in a position to make big additions to this team.
Yeah.
With their two best players on expiring contracts. But there's a world in which the Blue Jays can put something together to compete for a spot in the playoffs.
I think there is definitely a world where that could happen. I mean, I don't think I can't certify that this team, typically the cut to make the playoffs is around 88 wins.
Yeah.
I can't
I would
certify
bet
that
on
this
it.
team would do that. But I don't think they're going to lose 90 games or something
No.
like that. I don't think that's even possible, honestly.
I think it's kind of ridiculous that they went 74 and 88 last year
Right.
with all these guys.
Yeah.
That they still have. Definitely underperformed for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean,
There's the AL East.
there it is. We didn't really get to the Marlins or the Nationals, but womp womp. The Marlins are terrible,
Nationals are 4th, Marlins are 5th.
and the Nationals have
Nationals have some good young players.
James Wood, Dylan Cruz, and Jacob Young.
They got good young players. It's just I just don't think this is the year,
No.
especially while the other 3 teams are still so good.
Yeah, but in 2 years,
We'll be talking about the Nationals.
we'll be talking about the Nationals for much longer than 20 seconds.
Yeah, and then the Marlins 0 seconds.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
The Rhodes Lynx are 5-1.
Yep.
We play Bellhaven tomorrow. Oneonta maybe Friday.
Probably not
Spalding
Friday.
maybe
It's
Saturday.
gonna be super cold.
U Chicago maybe Sunday. Most likely Oneonta Saturday, and then the next 2 games following the next
Sunday
2
and
days.
Monday.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
It's been really fun so far, and hopefully it gets even more fun in the near future.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't freeze our balls off this weekend.
Yeah, that's probably why we're not going to play Fridays, because it's going to be super cold.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be 24 degrees on Thursday.
And it's going to snow a little bit.
Hopefully not at all.
It might start snowing on the way back from Bellhaven, because we're going to get back late.
Really?
Yeah. It's like Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning type snow.
Crazy things.
So regardless, in QB fashion, my 3 stars of the game for the first 6 games of the Rhodes Lynx season. My first star of the game is Tungsten Arm Arnie.
Yep.
Mick Arnie has just been absolutely tremendous off the mound.
Yeah.
Picked me up my bad start against Huntington, and then we ended up winning that game.
And then he won Pitcher of the Week.
They won Pitcher of the Week, and then through 5 1/3 scoreless innings on Friday afternoon.
Yep.
Or Friday morning, even.
Yeah, in 40-degree weather, in no sleeves.
Yeah.
And he just went out there and shoved.
Yeah, so Mick Arnie's been great. My second star, Ben Burkhart, on pace for 1,000,000 bajillion home runs.
Yep. On pace for 197 exit velo.
And then my third star, how about Reed Manti,
How about him?
the freshman from Austin, Texas.
The exciting freshman.
Having some very exciting relief innings. So those are some of our guys that are going right now. We got 3 more games this weekend. So
Yep.
the Lynx are hot. It's definitely a fun time.
Yeah, the Lynx are hot. Make sure to tune in.
And we'll see you next week.
We
Unless
will
we're
see
playing
you.
a baseball game.
Yeah.
But if we're not, we'll see you next week on the Fallbar podcast.
We could make an impromptu night podcast rather than morning.
Yeah,
maybe.
we definitely can.
We have adjustability here.
But regardless, next week's Central Divisions.
Yippee.
get
Our
excited.
favorite.
All right, see you next week.
Get ready for 90 wins and a lot of pitching and no excitement at all.
Peace.
Yay.